Thanks so much for your time. I am Pius Kojo Baka, and looking at our stories, Ghana has received $1.2 billion as savings from monies earned from crude oil exports since it started exporting the commodity in commercial quantities. There is more in the following reports.
Ghana's oil accounts at the Federal Bank of New York, USA showed that since the country started commercial exports of crude oil, the Heritage Fund, which also requires government to save some of the monies earned from crude oil exports for future generations, had about $1.1 billion ending June this year. However, the Stabilization Fund had $194 million. The account showed that there has been some withdrawals totaling $90 million. The fund is supposed to support government's revenue in case earnings from crude oil drops so that the budget is not affected in terms of supporting some projects in the country. The accounts also showed that just about $130 million were saved in these two funds just for this year. However, when it comes to the first 6 months of this year, about $840 million have come in the form of taxes and royalties that has been paid to government by the various companies working on the country's oil field.
Meanwhile, total amount of taxes paid by oil exploration firms in Ghana witnessed some significant increase to reach $356 million for the first half of this year. Well, this was contained in the Petroleum Fund's report for the first 6 months of 2024. George Yafe has more.
Last year, from January to June, the companies operating on the country's oil fields paid $166 million in corporate taxes to the state. However, in 2024, ending June, the country realized $356 million. This actually represents more than 100% jump from what was recorded in the same period for last year when it comes to corporate tax payments to the authorities. The Petroleum Fund's report showed that Tullow Oil paid the highest when it comes to corporate tax payments to the state. In 2023, Tullow also paid the highest for the first half of that year. Since corporate taxes are linked to the percentage of earnings posted at these companies, development showed that these oil firms are making some good profits for the half year. When it comes to surface rentals, the country got $580 million. However, this represents a decline compared to what the country got in the first 6 months of last year.
So let's have a broader conversation on the back of these revelations. And joining us via Zoom to do that is economist Professor Lord Mensah. Thanks so much, Professor Mensah, for agreeing to speak to us on Business Live. Now, per the Petroleum Fund's report released by the Bank of Ghana, we are told that, well, Ghana has earned $1.2 billion as savings from monies gotten from crude oil exports since commercial production began. How significant is that?
Yeah, I would say that it's a good contribution to our petroleum, funds, both the stabilization and then the heritage fund. But then this was supposed to reflect in the mid-year budget review. You could see I have been, asking questions on what are the prospect as far as, our forex reserves is concerned. And clearly, the finance minister did not show any signal of, providing more information as to our possible dollar inflows as far as, the dollar buffers is concerned for this country. And so from where I sit, having this information, I can tell you provides enough information for the market to give some assurance on the dollar buffer of this country. Even though, when you look at the 1.3 billion, I would say 1.3 billion because the figure is around 1.297, right? Thereabout. And so I will round it up to 1.3 billion. And I would say that it's not something that we can, by law, we can use them, as and when, the use of injections in our dollar buffer is concerned. But it gives some assurance and it gives some hope, especially for the stabilization fund, which we can fall onto, in case there's a shortfall in, oil inflows compared to, the outflows that we pay for oil import.
But again, do you think we could have gotten more?
Well, I mean, it depends on the various fields and then the price of oil on the global market. So that is what, I mean, what we export can give us. And I don't think we can do anything to get more on that.
All right. So now the Petroleum Management Act has also restricted the government on where to invest. Do you think that these laws should be reviewed?
Well, looking at our current situation where prices keeps on going up at the heels of petrol prices going up, I think we may have to relook at, the stabilization fund's usage. For the heritage fund, I would say yes, we're not supposed to be touching it because if you look at the first, half, at least we've been utilizing the stabilization fund, and I think we should continue to do that one way or the other to help us control, petrol prices on our market.
Another development from this Petroleum Fund's report is corporate tax payments, and we are told it's gone up significantly. Can we attribute that to the rising oil prices we are seeing, and of course the companies also doing well?
Yes, of course. I mean, if the various fields are increasing their number of barrels of production, and then also petrol prices are going up on the global market, then we should expect taxes to increase because obviously it's based on profit, and profit has to do with the sales that you make. So from where I sit, yes, I mean, there are two indicators we may look at: petrol price on the global market, and then the additional fields that, has been added on.
Professor Mensah, help me understand, what could be the impact of this on the economy if this trend continues in terms of revenue for the oil sector?
It's going to be a huge one. Remember, we're going for 360 million from IMF, and look at the stress we have to go through, the restrictions as far as, the economic activities are concerned. And so if we are getting this money from our resources, I mean, it tells you that indeed, I mean, the future is bright. And if we utilize it very well, as it's expected, it gives hope. And I can say that, yes, indeed, we have something to rely on.
And what will be your thoughts on arguments that if you raise more revenue to match up with your expenditure, then you are on the path of desustainability? I don't know where you stand on that. There's been several arguments on that.
Yes, it makes sense that way. But then, you see, there are times that you are tempted as a country to increase your expenditure because, I mean, you have the potential to grow. If you have the potential to grow and you increase your expenditure, there's nothing wrong with that. But a situation where you increase your expenditure and then it turns out that you are financing this expenditure to revenue difference, and I mean, those financing ends up in inefficient sectors of the economy, allocations through partisan means and other things, then it becomes a problem.
Thank you so much, Professor Mensah, for speaking to us on Business Live. We are indeed grateful speaking to us here on Business Live. Now, we want to stay a while longer within the industry because bulk oil distributors are seeking partnerships with stakeholders in the petroleum upstream and downstream sector to forge a collaboration that will drive down prices of fuel for Ghanaian consumers. The move, which is influenced by the involvement of GOIL and other players in acquiring stakes in the upstream sector, is expected to yield some results if some firms collaborate together with financial sector. Now, Chief Executive of the Chamber of Bulk Oil Distributors Ghana, Dr. Patrick Kweku-Ofori, begins such partnerships are needed to cushion consumers. He spoke to Joy Business at the Ghana Downstream Gala and Awards Night in Accra. More in this report.
The awards and gala night was aimed at celebrating achievements and growth in the industry since its inception. According to the Chamber of Bulk Oil Distributors, Ghana's downstream petroleum sector has witnessed a significant improvement and needs to keep up with the momentum in order to support economic growth. Speaking to Joy Business, Chief Executive Dr. Patrick Kweku-Ofori said forming partnerships with stakeholders will help in the quest to expand the industry, thereby benefiting consumers.
Joy took the lead with Exxon to partner with the upstream. There are other BDCs that also have some stake in some of the fields that are being developed. So gradually, with the required support from the sector, and I will not only look at this from the energy sector, but even from the financial sector, the banking sector, and then also the insurance sector. If we are all able to deliberately push the agenda, and then also ourselves, we are also responsible corporate citizens, I think the sky will be the limit.
Chief Executive of the National Petroleum Authority, Mustafa Hamid, noted that Ghana has become a good example on the continent for the many policy directives in the sector.
Today we have over 200 oil marketing companies We have over 42 bulk import and export distribution companies. We have countless transportation companies. We have countless LPG marketing companies. We have storage tank facilities. So the industry has grown exponentially, and it even threatens to grow even more with the development of a petroleum hub in the Western Enclave. The industry is going to expand. We now have a refinery that is doing about 40,000 barrels a day, which is Central Refinery, hoping to hit 100,000 barrels a day by the end of the year. All of that shows that the industry is really transformed.
Star Oil was awarded fastest growing oil company of the year, whilst Goil received the Downstream Oil Company of the Year.
Away from the petroleum upstream and, of course, downstream sectors, now government is expecting some significant reduction in the country's total debts before the end of the year. This will be realized after Ghana signs off the debt restructuring deal with external creditors before December this year. There is more in the following Business Desk report.
Ghana's total debt stock ending June 2024 reached 742 billion cedis. This, however, represents a significant jump compared to the country's debt situation for last year. This actually led to some questioning the impact of the domestic debt restructuring, as well as the current deal that government has secured with some of the external creditors on the debt situation. But government is insisting that it expects some significant reduction before the end of the year. This is because, at the time, it is expecting the agreement reached with these creditors to impact the total debt stock. Government sources say they are expecting more than 10 billion Ghana cedis drop in the debt stock before the end of this year. It is also projecting that the cedi will stabilize firmly against the dollar in the coming months. That should also impact on the final debt numbers ending December 2024. The Finance Ministry is of the firm belief that, based on the reforms being undertaken, that could help bring down the debt situation to a sustainable level by 2028.
And more on debt matters, government is expected to commence servicing Eurobond debts before the end of this year. However, that of bilateral creditors should start from 2026. Well, this is what Joy Business has picked up from persons negotiating the repayment of these debts. George Yafe.
Under the agreement reached with the Eurobond holders over terms for servicing their debts, government is supposed to start paying them as soon as an agreement is signed with these bondholders. Joy Business understands that government is looking at presenting that final agreement to these creditors for them to sign before September this year, and then after that, it will start making the necessary payments. Sources say government is currently finalizing documentations on these debt payments and the agreement and will forward to them very soon. The country could be saving about $2.8 billion when it comes to servicing the bilateral debts, and more than $9 billion for the Eurobond. Now, these are monies that government would have paid if it had not restructured these debts. But the IMF, in a new document, is warning of some challenging times for the economy if government is not able to sign an agreement with these bondholders and start the repayments of these debts before December this year.
Reacting to this development, research lead at GCB Capital, Courage Buti, mentioned that if government is able to complete the debt restructuring with bilateral creditors, its offshore investors may consider looking at the local currency bonds.
And still wasn't equivalent to forgiveness. So I want to think that whatever interest you would have had to pay from when the debt standstill was announced till now would have been built into the model we have now, and what haircuts and what principles are outstanding. The longer this drags, and you need to complete the debt restructuring to even restore that sense of debt sustainability, and a number of disbursements that are tied to those are due this economy are tied to the completion of those debt restructuring anyways. And then even you regaining access to the market eventually are all tied to when you complete this. When you complete also, you open up your markets to offshore investors who may even begin to look at the local currency bonds which have been restructured like some time back and all that. So the longer it drags, the more the sentiments are bearish, and the probably the more you lock up the flows that are tied to you completing debt restructuring, really. And then you also prolong the time to regaining debt sustainability. I think those may be the key concerns.
You're still watching Business Life. We are back with more. Welcome back to Business Life. The Bank of Ghana is asking savings and loans companies across the country to reassess their business strategies to reduce bad loans. Head of Banking Supervision Department at the Bank of Ghana, Osei JC, said the companies should focus on investing in small and medium enterprises to help in reducing its non-performing loans. He was speaking at the 14th annual general meeting of the Ghana Association of Savings and Loans Companies.
The continuous leveraging of information technology, third-party innovations, commercial awareness of the business environment, and customer requirements has supported the transformation process. The quest for convenience and speed in financial transactions by the growing and vibrant middle class has pushed the boundaries, warranting a rethink of banking business models. This notwithstanding, Mr. Chairman, a large segment of the population remains financially excluded. For instance, the 2021 Global Findex Survey of the World Bank estimates the average rate of account ownership, which is a measure of financial inclusion in Ghana as of 2021, was at 68%.
Science, Technology and Innovation, Ophelia Mensah-Hayford, has reiterated government's commitment to implementing policies to build resilience against climate change. According to her, government will continue to champion eco-friendly practices and advocate for fair access to resources ensuring climate action. She was speaking at the E2A conference. We shall bring you that story subsequently. Now, in a bid to help achieve the Sustainable Development Goal 1, which is reducing poverty, a non-governmental organization, the Cheryl Foundation, has committed to helping widows and single mothers in some parts of the country to build wealth to live dignified lives. At a fundraising ceremony, founder of the foundation, Elaine Ninsen, said the plan is to take these women out of poverty through health support and skills development. More in this report.
The Kayo Foundation is focused on empowering widows to attain financial independence in order to improve their living standards. The foundation has supported 82 widows in many areas so far. According to the founder of the Kayo Foundation, Ellen Ninsen, it's important for individuals to help improve the lives of the marginalized in the society.
We are more interested also in the SDG 1, which is to help reduce poverty, and also to help them take care of their health. Health is also very important, looking at the kind of people that we are dealing with, especially in terms of their mental health. So we have 4 schemes or 4 programs that we undertake in the area of healthcare, in the area of vocational and skills development, in the area of providing them legal assistance, so we call it legal aid, and then also to provide them microfinance scheme to help them get some capital to expand or to set up their businesses. We've been to Offenso and to Dodowa. So Dodowa, we are doing a pilot project with them for 2 years. We've done the first year, and then we are looking to do the next phase, which is more focused on creating sustainable businesses. So to organize finance and business literacy for them, and then also set them up with capital and some, I would call it, let's say, a shop, a store, so partner with organizations so that some of them can be distributors of products, some of them can also have access to like what we know the MTN SME business is also doing in that space of tech. So that is what we are focused on for the next year.
A partner of the foundation, Andrew Osei, called on individuals and other organizations to support Kayo Foundation in impacting lives.
I call upon everyone, all and sundry, who believe in this cause. And of course, I believe that every reasonable human being who wants to see the betterment of society will want to support such a worthy cause. Let us come on board and then help our widows in every way that we can.
The Kayo Foundation is a dedicated non-governmental organization committed to addressing the challenge faced by widows in Ghana and beyond.
Thanks so much for watching Business Life with me, Pius Kojo Baka. We've got more stories when you log on to myjoyonline.com/business. Great stories on that portal. There you go. I truly appreciate your time. See you same time tomorrow. Bye.